SoD Phase 4 is here. Let's see how we're going to go into Molten Core and defeat Ragnaros as a mage arcane healer. First things first then, let's have a look at our stat priority. Now, the first one we are going to want is spell power. And then after that, we want to go and get spell or arcane damage. So the first one is the generic type, and then the second one is the specific type. And because we're actually doing damage into healing, so it's converting damage into healing, these are actually going to be fantastic stats for us. And again, because we are doing damage into healing, we still do want to actually hit our spell hit cap that is 16% to make sure that we can actually hit the bosses we're trying to kill, of course. After that, we're going to want things like intellect and then spirit and spell healing and MP5, etc. for our mana regeneration, but they're all fairly straightforward stats for this spec. Now, moving over to the talents we're going to be taking, most of them are indeed going into the arcane tree. Not my favorite tree. It doesn't have a lot of damage increasing talents in there, but it's what we have to go on. We've got arcane focus, reducing the opponent's chance to resist our spells. And we've got 5 out of 5 into Arcane Concentration. This is a spell that gives us a chance to go into a clear casting state, meaning that we can reduce the mana cost of our next spell completely. After that, we have Arcane Resilience, increasing our armor by an amount equal to 50% of our intellect. 3 out of 3 into Arcane Meditation, so that 15% of our mana regen can continue while casting. And Arcane Mind, increasing our maximum mana by 10%. Presence of Mind as well, a fantastic cooldown that we can use. When activated, your next mage spell with a casting time less than 10 seconds becomes an instant cast spell. We're going to increase our spell damage and critical strike chance of arcane instability. And lastly, Arcane Power, a really, really good cooldown that we have at our disposal. When activated, your spells deal 30% more damage while costing 30% more mana to cast, and this effect will last 15 seconds. Of course, more damage equals more healing there. After that, we're going to go into Impact, where our fire spells have a 10% chance to stun the target. Don't really care too much about this talent. The reason we are using it is to get down to Ignite, where your critical strikes from fire damage cause the target to burn for an additional amount over a few seconds. Now, if you're thinking, hang on, I thought we were arcane. Yes, we are, but there is a specific spell I'm going to be talking through shortly that will actually do chimeric damage, meaning it will be doing damage from every school of arcane, fire, and frost, and will actually then benefit from the fire and also frost talents, or some of them at least, that we're putting in. And these are the ones we're specifically trying to attain. Lastly, in the frost tree, we're putting 3 out of 3 into elemental precision, again reducing the chance that we can miss on frost and fire spells by 6%. And lastly, Ice Shards, a fantastic talent here, increasing the critical strike damage bonus of your frost spells, again, including its Balefire Bolt, by the way, frost spells by 100%. Next up is the runes. Starting off on the left with Arcane Warding, Advanced Warding, should I say. Your Mana Shield, Frost Ward, and Fire Ward spells can now be cast on any friendly target, so not just ourselves, and absorb 100% increased damage, so double the amount that we would usually absorb. With Mana Shield consuming 50% less mana per damage absorbed, and additionally, your Remove Lesser Curse is replaced with Remove Greater Curse. That is going to remove 1 curse and 1 harmful magic effect from a friendly target, giving us a bit more utility as a healer. On the chest, we're going for Regeneration. Basically, this is going to heal the target over X amount of seconds and apply something called Temporal Beacon to them for 30 seconds. And basically, it's going to record all of the damage that we are doing with Arcane, and then it's going to convert that into healing on the target with the beacon. It is reduced, however, if you do AoE damage, as of course, this is going to be doing a lot more and would make healing incredibly, incredibly OP if that happened. On the wrist, you've got 2 options. You could go for Rewind Time for more single target healing. Your current target with your Temporal Beacon instantly heals all damage taken over the last 5 seconds, ineffective on targets that did not have a Temporal Beacon 5 seconds ago. Yes, very fun, adding more into the Temporal Beacon mechanic. However, Balefire Bolt is an incredible DPS increase that we can use to our advantage here when doing damage, and therefore converting it into healing. Unleash a reality distorting burst of raw magic at your enemy. It does chimeric damage, meaning again it's from all schools. Each time you cast it, the damage of your next one within 30 seconds will be increased by 10%. and your spirit will be decreased by 10% for 30 seconds. When this gets to 10, you will die, meaning you only want to go to 8 or 9 and not go any higher, doing more and more and more damage, healing your temporal beacons against chimeric damage, and therefore it's going to be healing. And I like to give dual advice here. If you want to be careful, just go to 8 stacks, because you might, if you're not concentrating, you'd go to 9 and you're like, oh no, and you've gone to 10 and died. You're going to annoy everyone, you're going to be dead. So you could go to 8 stacks and not go any further if that is what how you feel. However, if you feel more confident, I would say to go to 9 stacks and be very, very careful not to go to 10, of course. So play that in one of those 2 ways. You can take rewind time. Like I said, I wouldn't recommend it. I would generally go for Balefire Bolt. On the hands, we're going for Arcane Blast, blasting the target each time we use it. And the damage and healing of all your other arcane spells is going to be increased by 15% every time you use it. However, the mana cost is going to be greatly, greatly increased as well. And this can stack up to 4 times and is a great way of obviously getting more and more healing and damage out. Then we have Missile Barrage, giving your Arcane Blast a 40% chance and your Fireball and Frostbolt, which we're not really using, a 20% chance to reduce the channeled duration of your next Arcane Missile spell by 50%, reduce the mana cost by 100, and the missile will fire every 0.5 seconds. So we are looking to be hopefully fishing for these procs on here from our Arcane Blast. Remember, it's a 40% chance. Then we've got Mass Regeneration, heals all of the target party members within 30 yards of target player for X amount, and applies Temporal Beacon on each individual target for 15 seconds. So the single target one was for 30 seconds. This more multi-person one is for 15 seconds, but it's on obviously multiple people. Records the subject's time, etc., etc. That's the same thing, Temporal Beacon again. On the Foot Rune, you could go for Chronostatic Preservation or Spell Power. Spell Power increases the critical strike damage of all your spells by 50%, whereas Chronostatic Preservation heals a friendly target and then fuses Arcane Fire and Frost magic to freeze Chronomantic energy into a stored state for later use. You can hold it for up to 20 seconds before it combusts and expires. When unleashed, it's going to heal a friendly target again, and it is considered chimeric again, so it actually will be affected by all of the different talents that we have for Arcane Fire and Frost individually. Then, lastly, we're just going to go for Frost and Arcane specializations, especially Arcane, on the ring slots, making sure, again, that we have a much higher chance to hit and get closer to our hit cap on our spells. So now for the really important bit, how are we actually going to put this all together and do it in the rotation? Well, first things first. Of course, keep your Arcane Intellect, etc. up. And then what I like to do is keep the Temporal Beacon on the tank at all times, making sure we can heal them for whatever damage they are taking. Then we're going to use the I can never pronounce it, Chronostatic Preservation for any emergency healing that needs to be done. After that, another option, if you're not taking Balefire Bolt in that occasion, you can use Rewind Time to instantly reverse damage from the last few seconds. Again, I do prefer Balefire Bolt, and I think you will too, though. But just to give you some options. After that, we're going to activate Arcane Power as our main cooldown, and using any other potions and cooldowns you may have on your gear alongside this to maximize damage. That's when we're going to then go into our Balefire Bolt phase, using it again and again up to 8 or 9 stacks, never going to 10 of course, because it will kill us, to do maximum damage. Then we're going to keep using our Arcane Blast, hoping of course to fish for Missile Barrage procs, which we will then use on our Arcane Missiles. Otherwise, if we can't, if it doesn't proc and then we're at the 4 stacks, basically, so, Arcane Blast, Arcane Blast, Arcane Blast, Arcane Blast, oh, we've not had a proc, therefore we're going to use Arcane Barrage to consume those stacks rather than Arcane Missiles. We're only going to use Arcane Missiles when we get a Missile Barrage proc on the Arcane Blast stacks. If you want to do AoE, obviously it won't do as much healing as single target, but if you do want to do AoE damage, then I would just use Arcane Explosion, and that's really all we're actually going to change in those AoE circumstances. And that is it for everything you need to know to play as a Arcane Mage Healer in this phase. Hopefully this was useful to you. You can join Patreon if you would like some one-on-one help with me. I am there to help you over there where needed. And you can also get access to a VIP channel in Discord where you can ask questions, etc. and get help from experts, as well as lots of WoW resources like other video guides and Excel spreadsheets.